The biggest battle we will ever have to face is the battle between you and you. It's the battle of taking your mind to that limit and then breaking through. On the Mindful Experiment podcast, we will share concepts, universal laws, and interviewing individuals who have done just that, who have gone through the dark times and through those moments allowed their light to shine bright. I'm your host, Dr. Vic Manzo, and I want to thank you for listening to the podcast and taking this journey with me as we discover different avenues to break through those limits, expand your reality, and evolve into the person you desire to be. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, you're listening to another episode here as we will be talking about creation and how you are the creator and how being a creator, being the purpose of everything that exists in your life is based upon you. I will share concepts and constructs of how that works and how God plays a role in this universe and all that and what's the purpose behind it. But before I do, I got a couple exciting announcements to share. One, if you haven't checked out my book, Rediscover Your Greatness, go check it out. The reviews have been amazing. The feedback has been awesome. It's been life transformation for a lot of people, and I know it will be for you also. You can get that on Amazon. You can get it on Barnes & Noble, Nook, Kindle. We're coming out with the audiobook in a couple weeks. We are just finalizing the audio and polishing it up, so stay tuned for that. Also, check out on empoweryourreality.com. We have a free class. It's a 1-week free class. And what you get is every day you get a video from me, and sometimes there's a worksheet. And it helps you disconnect from the chaos, disconnect from that go, fast-paced life. And it helps you slow down, reconnect with the essence of who you are. And it helps just to give you tools that you can use, and you pick which ones you like at the end of the week, and use those on a daily basis. So check those out. Last but not least, we will be doing something. If you are not subscribed to our podcast email list, please do that. EmpowerYourReality.com. You'll see if you stay on the website for about a few seconds, something will pop up. If you subscribe, I am launching in a couple days a very special event, if you want to call it. It's 2 different 5-week coaching programs that I'm going to be launching. They are totally free. I am not taking on too many people. So it's a first come, first serve. As soon as they're filled up, I am closing the doors on registration. The program starts August 26th. So if you have not subscribed, because I'm only connected, this will not be available anywhere public. It's only through people who've been following us either through our email or you've been following us through Facebook on Dr. Vic Manzo Jr. Fan page. Those are the things that you can connect and see it there. So I highly recommend getting out there and connecting because this is going to be an awesome program. It's a one-time deal. I will never be doing this again. So definitely take a look and get connected. All right, let's get to the podcast here. So, I was talking with a friend and we were discussing about God, and he was saying how God really doesn't, based on what he's been listening to in my podcast, he was saying how God doesn't really care what you do. You do what you do. You're in control, and he really liked it. And in there, I was like, oh, great, I could do a podcast on this, because my response was something I wanted to break down a little further. If you have read my book already, you know where I'm going with this a little bit when it comes to who you really are. What's the essence of who you really are? And in my book, I dive deeply into this and explain many different things about who you really are as we strip down our titles, our labels, and so much more. So I highly, again, recommend checking out the book. But in this podcast, I want to dive deeper. And so with that, when you look at your life and someone says, well, you're the creator. Everything exists because of you. Everything is all on you. You're the only responsibility. If you take responsibility of your life, everything changes. When you play victimhood, and I've had someone sharing about someone backstabbed them. And I'm like, don't go there. That's a victim. They didn't backstab you. You created it in some way. And there's somewhere along those lines it created, or it's happening to you because you're you didn't catch the signs of that friendship needing to go. Sometimes we hold on to things that we don't we hold on to that's been held on to for too long. We don't let go of things. Sometimes a relationship, if the energy's not right, most of the time we don't talk it up and say, hey, I just feel like we're off. Is there something up here? And then if it's just not getting better, those are signs that maybe that's time to let go. The contract, the spiritual contract is done. And if you hold on, it only gets worse and worse. And just like anything in life, if you don't catch on to the signal, if you don't catch the message, life will smack you in the face and give it to you until you finally do. And it'll get harder and harder until you finally figure it out. And so there's always going to be anything that happens to you is never at you, it's for you. Universe is always working for you, never nothing against you. So how can anything ever be negative if everything is always working in your best interest? This is why I've talked about many times in the podcast, I talk about it in my book, that there's no such thing as right and wrong. It just is, right? And what you do with it makes it right or it makes it wrong. Something that happens in your life can be extreme darkness. It can be something that challenges you and it has created so much pain and agony and distress. But if you take that and look at it from a different perspective and look at the lessons it's teaching you and teaching you how to look within, sometimes you go through darkness and it's challenging you to say, how strong are you really? The universe is never going to give you something you can't handle. They say God never gives you anything that you can't handle. So when you have something coming in your life, you can look at that and say, this is not good, blah, 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 this is horrible, I can't believe this, and you let darkness take over you. It consumes you. And then what it does is only puts you deeper into the dark. Now, sometimes if you've been really listening to me, you'll know that you'd be like, wait a minute, Doc, but you say going into the dark is a good thing. And it is. But that's when you're facing your pain. You're facing your fears. See, when you're letting the dark take over you in a sense of shifting your gears and making it seem like, well, this is what happened to me and that's it. It's a victim mentality. What ends up happening is you pull away from your light more. You start to create more separation because now you're like, I don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to split that off and I'm going to put that away and try to keep it in a box as long as I can. And to be honest, no matter what happens in life, you can never put anything in a box. It will come up to surface and you will have to face it. You will have to deal with the lessons and the things that you're going to have to go through. You can't put those away. I'm reading a book right now. I read it a long time ago, and it was nice to come back and read it again. Dale Carnegie, Stop Worrying and Be Happy or something. One of those books. I can't remember the title. I apologize, but it's along those lines, and it's amazing how he just talks about one of the things that really stands out. Because right now I listen to a lot of books, and I don't dive in and learn every little detail. I just take one thing that I can learn from it and use it in my life and then put it in there. So one of them is you take the lessons of life, you learn them, whatever that is, whatever situation, whatever mistake you made, you learn from it, then you forget about it and move on. There's no point in worrying about it anymore. So a lot of people, though, when they go through painful situations, they try to make themselves feel like they weren't responsible. And when you do that, you're separating and pushing away from the lesson. And that's why the universe is always working for you, not against you. So when you can look at things in your life, when you can look at stuff that has happened to you, find the blessing in it because it's always there. There is a gift in everything that happens for us, and everything's always happening for us. I could tell you this from my own experience. There's just some things that has happened in my life, things I made mistakes on, things that I failed at. And at times, in the beginning, in the middle of it all, it was like, this shit sucks. Like, seriously, I'm like, what's going on? What am I doing wrong? Why am I not? Because I understand the responsibility side. So I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Why is my focus here and there? And then I'm like, you know what? Those are not the right questions. Let me take a step back. All right, universe, you're always working for me, right? You're always supplying. So there's got to be obviously some lessons here that I've been missing that I need to learn from. And then once I do that, I start to tap into the present moment. And then I can look at things and say, okay, now where do I go with this? And the lessons start to pop up and time again. And sometimes years after, they're still coming. And so that's where you're really using that for you and not against you. That's when you're taking an experience in life, good or bad, remember, that doesn't matter. And you're using that for you, helping you grow and expand instead of shrinking you. So I digress. But that's just something I wanted to share here. But when it comes back to creation, you are responsible for all things. So here's how things work. When we look at the universe or God, whatever works for you, prime creator, prime source energy, the prime director, I mean, you name it, the title doesn't matter. It's the essence that exists throughout the whole entire universe, multi-universes, and the infinite multi-universes that exist. In every single dimension, every single plane, this one energy, this field, this unified field exists. It's called God. People have called it God many times. God, the way the creation works, I talk about this in my book, that we were created to go out and experience all that we can of learning about ourselves. And when we learn about ourselves, God learns about us, about itself. And so when you look at that concept, I'll give you a couple analogies. And so when you look at, let's say you like to cook, all right? So you go into a kitchen. And in this kitchen, you're thinking of something you want to create. And you're like, I don't know, am I really passionate about Indian food, right? And forgive me, I don't know everything about Indian food. Tikka masala, that's something I may know. But, you look at Indian food and you're going, okay, I got to look at I want to make some Indian food. All of a sudden, God responds, says, did you say Indian food? Here you go. Here's the unlimited sources of spices, food, whatever you need. Go ahead and create. Have fun. Then you go, I'm not into that. Maybe I want to do some Chinese. Okay. God says, all right, here we go. Here is all the raw supplies that you need to create whatever it is you desire to make Chinese food. And then you're like, maybe I want to make a hamburger. God says, okay, here is all the different things that exist that you need in abundance to create a hamburger. You see, no matter what you say, God's always there to provide. And the reason why is because you are the bloodline for God just as much as God is the bloodline for you. The reason why is that when it comes to creation of your life, you're co-creating with God. Because the more you expand and grow, the more Earth expands and grow, the more everything in the universe expands and grow, and it leads all the way up to the top, to God. And so it's always going to be a win-win. God is always growing and expanding when you grow and expand. That's how powerful you are. And the universe, just like nature, never creates anything out of not needing. It creates everything based upon a need. Everything has to be a need. And it only creates what is needed. And so that's how powerful you are and how important you are and how unique you are. So when you look at your life and what you want to create, how does this relate to business? How does it relate to creating goals or achieving visions and focusing on growth? That's the key concept to understand. And when you really grasp this, you're not afraid to try something new. You're not afraid to go and face your fears. You're not afraid to take on something because you know that no matter what I desire, God's right there to provide. He will always be providing whatever it is I need. If you want to become a millionaire, God will provide. He will give you situations and circumstances to help mold you into the person you need to become. You get that? Not win a lottery. Mold you into the person you need to become. So many people focus on making millions that they don't focus on the person they need to become. Because all millionaires and billionaires are is a frequency and vibration that they're attracting into their life for the most part. And when you have that frequency and vibration, actually that's what it is. If you have that vibration and frequency and you're vibrating at that level, it's impossible for you not to attract that in your life. It's impossible. You can't stop it. Because when you're vibrating at that frequency, it's a law of attraction. You're going to eventually attract that into your life. So when you want to be a millionaire, and you wonder why, like for me, I want to be a millionaire. That was my goal when I first started my business, and I looked at all the other things I wanted to do. And 2 years out, 3 years out, I went bankrupt. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? This is totally against what I needed to. But what the universe was doing for me is shaking up bad, negative belief systems on money, negative belief systems about myself, and so much more that when I had to go through all that, I had nothing left but to believe in myself. And when I started to do that, holy cow, did life turn around. Business blew up in just a few years. I think we almost 3x'd our business in 2 years when we continue that growth. things started to transform and change, but it was because of me. It was focusing on me. It was filling up that voids, the negative belief system, the things that were hindering and holding me back. That's why I say in our podcast, in the intro, the biggest battle that you'll ever have to face is between you and you. And the reason why is because you're always battling. You're the one who creates and destroys your dreams. And it's based upon your focus and what you're going for. That is either creating or destroying it. And so that's the key concept. So God's always there to provide. Let's get away from cooking. Let's say art. You want to paint, right? And you're thinking about something. And then once you figure it out, God says, ooh, I see what you want. Here's the abundance of things that you need. Have fun. Or let's say you want to build a car from scratch. And you kind of have a concept. You have the idea. And all of a sudden you see, okay, exactly. This is how I want to do it. God says, great, I see it. Thank you for sharing. Here you go. Here's the abundance of things you need to supply and help you in that. And the beautiful thing, this happens all the time, guys. But the only difference is that people have to realize that, we live in a physical construct of time and space. And there's rules and laws to time and space. Instantaneously, you can change direction of what you're attracted. Instantaneously. And I say this because I was taught and educated that my mentors and people I've listened to speaking and so forth will always say, you could change your life in a second. You could just go ahead and think and boom, and there you go. Now you've transformed your life. And I'm going, yeah, let me think about that for a second. Because I'm like, here we go. These are the thought processes I want to become and be. And I look at it and all of a sudden I'm not there. Like the bank account didn't blow up the next day and so forth. So I started studying more about quantum physics and understanding time and space, and that everything has a divine time and a divine space that has to go through. It's the perfection of the universe. It's the way the universe works in the essence of prepping and cooking and, steeping and getting it to that right level before you go ahead and create. Because at the end of the day, everything has time and space in this physical reality. If you don't think so, when a baby is conceived, instantaneously from 2 cells going into 4 cells and so forth, why isn't it born the next day full? There's time and space, 9-10 months. When you look at cooking, if you cook something at a certain temperature, it takes a certain amount of time before it's ready. Barbecuing, smoking meats, all that stuff takes time and space. Okay? Everything has time in it when it comes to the physical reality. And things are speeding up though. We are attracting faster. I can't tell you how fast we are. There's a couple things that have been happening in my life that I'm just going, holy cow. I mean, I'm a master attractor, I'll tell you that much, and I know how to manifest, but especially when I'm in a good state of mind and vibration, but holy cow, there's just, I had a thought process, this is what I'm going to do, this is how it's going to happen, and it's funny when it works out that way, and you're kind of like, whoa, all right, cool, all right, next, let's focus on this. And so things are speeding up, and when you're very congruent in pace with everything, things can change a lot faster. Faster than you think. But the same thing is there's still time and space, no matter what. Just like when you eat something, you're not pooping it out immediately. There's time and space that has to go through and break down and be absorbed and so forth to take time. So know that God is always providing, and it's abundance. There's abundance in the universe. There's never a lack. And I know this from many different levels, but when I'll put it in very short terms here and keep it simple, because I'll do a podcast on this. When you're worrying about lack and scarcity and poverty mindset and all that stuff, you think there's a limited amount of resources, which there isn't. And here's why. When you expand and grow, and what I mean by expand and grow, let's say you are vibrating at a level now to make $100,000 a year. Okay. And I use money because it's easy, because we all focus on money. So $100,000 a year, you've grown and expand. Well, the earth expands now because you've expanded. The solar system expands because you expanded. The galaxy expanded because you expanded. Now all of a sudden the universe expands because you expanded. And so when everyone expands, if everything is expanding when we expand, it opens up the door for more resources. It opens up the door for more things to be there for other people to enjoy and appreciate it also. So let's say another way to do this is think about, let's say, all the money in the world. Now I'm being very simple here, just to keep it simple. Let's say it's $100, right? We'll keep it very simple. Now all of a sudden you figured out a way to make you manifested an extra $5, right? $5. I mean, it's simple stuff. Now you're attracting $5 because you've raised your vibration up. Well, what happens? Earth raises that vibration up. All of a sudden, it goes down that whole chain of command again, all the way up to God. Now, you created opportunities for others to experience the same thing. And so those resources are created and are there for others to experience an extra $5 in their life too. And it just keeps going and going and going and going. So like the billionaires in our world who are, Bezos, owner of Amazon, is worth, $100 billion? Well, he's opening up the door to allow for other people to experience $100 billion. Another way to explain this is back in, I think it's 1956 and 53, Roger Bannister. I wrote about this in my book and talked a little bit about this concept on how no one could ever run the 4-minute mile. And they've come close, but never were able to do it. And he did break that record, right? What he ended up doing was allowing now for others to do the same, because if there was a scarcity, if there was a limit, he would have been the only one and that's it. No one would ever do that. But it's actually the opposite in the universe. When he broke that record, he created a wave into the universe, up to God, to give other people that opportunity. If they were interested in it, God will create resources and so forth to help you in the process. And when it happened, since that day, there have been thousands upon thousands of people who've done it. Now there's high school kids who do it. That's the concept. There's abundance. It never ends. Somebody breaks through, and then everybody follows behind. And it makes it easier for them to get to that level. So always know that God is working with you, giving you abundance to create whatever desire you want. And this is the reason why I share it in this way. Because you can take this in any way you want in your life. But you have no reason to think of scarcity, poverty mindset, lack. There's no purpose of it. You can and your mind's going to fight you on this and go, well, I know that when I want to make $1 million, I think about this and that. My bank account never shows that. Okay, stop focusing on what you have not of and focus on what you can. Because remember, money is all about a vibration. It's an attraction. And I talk about the relationship of money in a podcast episode before. So check that out. But it's one of those things. So look at your life. Look at what you want to create. You are the creator. You dictate what it is you want to create in your life, and it happens. Period. You have to own your shit. You have to own your responsibility because you're the only one to blame. You're the only one that holds all the thing. Everything happens to you. I mean, everything happens for you, not to you. But you are the one who creates all because it comes from your inside world as of what you experience in the outside. And it never happens the other way around. So I hope this was a little bit of insightful. I may have pushed some buttons, and if I have, please let me know. There's some things we got to help break through. You can always reach and connect with me via email. You can also, which is in the show notes, connect me on Facebook, connect with me on Instagram, connect with me on Twitter. So any questions you guys have, please let me know. As always, I appreciate you, appreciate your support. I appreciate you being a part of this movement, this whole mindful experiment that we're going through here. And until next time, just keep rocking and rolling.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. For past shows, please visit www.empoweryourreality.com. I hope this show inspired you and added to your life to help you on the journey to rediscover who you really are. To connect with us on Facebook, please visit www.facebook.com/Dr. Vic Manzo. Check us out on Twitter. The handle is Dr. Vic21. Follow us on Instagram, www.instagram.com/Dr. Vic Manzo. If you were inspired by the podcast, pay it forward by sharing it with someone who you know can benefit from it. Thank you again for listening to the Mindful Experiment podcast, sharing paths to help you rediscover your infinite potential.